So, like I said, working on part two, and the part one homework is due tonight. Friday will just be more time to spend on this. You don't necessarily have to finish part two today. So if you want to prioritize part one, that's fine. And then we'll do the rest of this module next week. So, what are we up to? So today we're going to be moving over to this list of comparables tab, which introduces a few new concepts that we haven't talked about yet, at least as far as Kickstarter goes. It's not really any brand new math or Excel ideas, but I wanted to make sure we all understood what this particular tab was conveying so you could answer these questions in part two. So what's happening now is we are convinced that we're going to come up with some bike project, and we want to use Kickstarter to fund this particular product. And so we've collected data on 12 different bike products that have used Kickstarter in the past. And we're going to see if we can figure out what they either did right or wrong and imitate that. Now, in the workbook, it sort of singles out this last row. It says, hey, answer this question for the Bicycle Bell product and do all this stuff for this guy. But I just want to point out, you might as well, whenever it asks you a question, you might as well do it for all 12 of these products, because it's just dragging anyway, for one. And second of all, when you get to the homework, it's going to ask you about these other 11 products. So make sure when you're answering these questions, even though it's just asking about this row, give yourself enough room to answer it for all 12 rows. Okay, so what's going on this page? It's talking about something called pledge levels here. Basically, the idea here is that when people start a Kickstarter project, they are trying to incentivize people to pledge more and more money. So let's say we're singling out this Bicycle Bell product. These people who started this product said, well, if you give us $1, I'm just going to make some stuff up, by the way. Maybe we'll send you like a thank you card or thank you email or something, because $1, not really a lot of money there. But if you give us at least $35, we'll send you one of these bells when we're done. Maybe if you send us $45, maybe we'll send you two, or I don't know, something to incentivize you to give more and more money. And as you can see, each one of these products has a different amount of levels based on this reward system in their project. And then over to the right, we have the amount of people that gave this amount of money. But it's a little bit trickier than that. So once again, let's look down here. We see that there's 86 people at level 1. That doesn't necessarily mean 86 people gave $1. All it means is they gave at least $1, but not quite 35. So they gave enough to where they were in this level 1 reward area, but not quite enough to get to level 2. Likewise, these 2,151 people each gave at least 35, and maybe all the way up to like, $44.99, but they didn't give $45, and so on and so forth. So we see each one of these levels and the amount of people who gave that amount of money. And that's what we're going to be analyzing today. So let's take a look at the questions. It starts off talking about, like I said, just the Bicycle Bell. And it has you fill out this table here. First thing it says is how many backers gave at these pledge levels. So just want to point out, we've already talked about this. See this 86 and 2151? Those are those two numbers over there. So we already actually have these numbers computed. It is transpose, so our data is turned sideways. I'm not going to turn mine this time to agree with the book. You can if you like. I like this orientation going left and right. They went up and down in the workbook mainly because they would have run out of room otherwise. So these numbers are already in the book. So actually, your first thing you're going to compute are these. So how do we figure out the percent of total backers in each pledge level? Well, it's not actually too bad. So if I single out Bicycle Bell, and I look at all these people here, I can add those up, about 6,000 people, and I can say, well, what percent of those 5,000 to 6,000 people are at level one? It's just division at that point, right? We just need to essentially translate these into a percentage. And just make sure you're only using these numbers when you're answering it for the Bicycle Bell, and you're only adding up these numbers for the next one and so on. Each row is sort of separate from each other. Then what they're going to be asking us to do is we have these two hypothetical people, Sarah and Matt, that are trying to essentially copy these products, and they think they can get 500 backers. Maybe they've done some research. They have this many people that have responded that they are likely to donate to this product. Now, if we know there's 500 backers, we need to somehow translate into how much money is that going to raise. And so the idea here is we're going to essentially copy these numbers in this percentage column and make the assumption that, well, since this was a bike project and this was the distribution of their backers, I think my 500 people are going to be split up the exact same way. So I think 1.48% of my 500 people are going to give me $1. And I think 29% of my 500 backers are going to give me $80. Okay. So we're going to take these percentages to break up these 500 people into 5 groups. And then using these pledge level amounts, we can then translate that into how much money is going to come our way. And that's primarily the main set of computations you're going to be working on. Once you have that, then there's just some follow-up questions like make a graph, what's the equation of that graph, use the calculator you already built in number 2. This one is really, the last question is really the only one that has some additional calculators you need to set up, but you don't really need to worry about getting there today because we have 2 days to work on this. So we can talk about that one a little bit more on Friday.